I have been writing and delivering speeches on people with which in a way had something to do with Rizal. Like for example, just very recently, I have a monograph published at TCU remembering Josephine Braken. This is also a very good material which I would like to discuss one of these days para sa Women Month.
The author of the Rizal track also mentioned to me that Josephine Braken, when he explained to the family of Jose Rizal, the author, uh, Enrique, Knights of Rizal, Sir Enrique, that he was going to interview the descendants of Josephine Braken. They were not very, they were cold to the idea. And Sir Enrique went to Ireland and met the family of descendants of Josephine Braken, and then also went to Madrid and met with the descendants of Jose Rizal. He explained to me that there was a side of the story of the from the Rizal family, and maybe you've heard this, that Josephine Braken was already pregnant by the Amain, and Rizal Francisco was not his son. Do you know anything about that, about your research?
Anyway, nasa libro na yun. Most likely, mga nakabasa na. But, ang sinasabi ng Rizal uh, clan o Rizal family sa Barcelona, uh, na si Josephine Braken, eh, actually, naanakan ng kanyang tatay or kanyang uh, foster
Amain.
parent,
Mm.
amain, di ba, na si Mr. Toffer. Kaya nung nagkita si Dr. Rizal saka si Josephine Braken sa dapitan, may laman na yung tiyan ni Josephine Braken.
Well, I have not come across na buntis siya kay Topper. Kasi magbilang ka ng buwan. Magbilang ka ng buwan nang umalis na si Topper at bumalik si Josephine sa dapitan, and then they live together. 9 months ba yon or whatever, o ano ba yon? So hindi naman, di ba? So nung nagbinasa ko rin yung kaya nga ito, Josephine Braken, no? Remembering Josephine Braken. Ito ay batay doon sa sinulat. Isa sa mga pinagbatayan ko, may basis ay yung the book written by the descendant of Josephine Braken. Ang pangalan ng apo niya ay si Macario Opilada. No? Macario Opilada yung apo niya. And he wrote a book about his grandmother, Josephine Braken. And doon talagang hindi naman he tried to vindicate naman si Josephine from the accusations also of many authors, and that included si Austin Coates. Kasi kay Austin Coates, masama ang kanyang, he portrayed Josephine as a loose woman. Na the woman whom Rizal mentioned in his last work, literary work, Mi Ultimo Adios, The Last Farewell, as the dulce extranjera or sweet stranger, the sweet foreigner of Rizal, will be accused of such dirty
Salacious.
dirty relationship na ganyan. And well, I was reading the book, I realized how maligned Josephine was. And when I was doing this particular remembering Josephine Braken, I went over several books. I mean, I looked for the description of these authors about Josephine, and almost all of them would not give a very nice word for Josephine Braken. But if you are going to read Rizal's letters also to her family about Josephine Braken and Josephine Braken letter to Rizal, but you will see how nice a woman Josephine was, how caring she was to the nephews, to the nieces of Rizal, and how caring she was to the parents of Rizal, and how caring she was to Dr. Jose Rizal. And she was very much in love with Dr. Jose Rizal because remember, sabi nga, when he was to be executed, she even tried to help na Rizal would be freed from that kind of situation. And if there was also this mention that there was a woman during the execution of Rizal who was there, and that was Josephine Braken. Yun yung mga ganong ano. At Josephine Braken, who was referred to by her grandson as the Wandering Swallow, no, hindi siya loose woman. For me, she was not a loose woman. She was she was a devoted daughter to Topher. And there was a time when Topper got married after the death of the mother who was adopted Josephine to be the child of Topper and the wife. When the wife died, Topper remarried. The second marriage of Topper was better, no, good. Josephine was not treated um, was not given maltreatment. But the third wife, Joseph Topper married again for the third time. But the third wife was cruel to Josephine and her and the other sister na nandoon sa kalinga ni Topper. And so Josephine was forced to leave the house of Topper, but and went to a convent, no, doon siya tumira sa mga mothers sa Hong Kong. But Topper, who was becoming weak already because of illness, persuaded Josephine to return back home. And when she returned, the treatment of the stepmother was still the same. So Josephine's courage or fairness, no, surfaced, and she got knife. Hinabol niya yung kanyang stepmother. Saksak. Simula noon, hindi na. Nawala na yung stepmother na yun.
Apa.
And she was caring to Topper because she was grateful because somebody took care of her. So sinamahan niya magpapagamot, mabuhay hanggang sa
Pilipinas.
o Pilipinas.
Apa.
But she decided, she made a decision that she had given so much already to Topper. And this time, she would now think about herself and the love that she started to nurture for Rizal. So she went back to the Pitan and sacrificed so much. Because the people of the Pitan were not also nice to her because ang tingin sa kanya ay they were living in sin because they were not married. But she sacrificed so much for Rizal because she loved Rizal. And the family of Rizal, except for Narcisa, the sisters were also very much negative about Josephine, accusing her of being a spy by of the priest, just because she was in the company when she went to the Pitan. She was in the company of a certain Manuela or Lakiata, who was believed to be a querida of the priest. So she never got very nice caring from the family of Rizal, except for Narcisa,
Wow.
who was good to her. But she sacrificed, sabi niya, alam mo kung mababasa mo lang yung sulat niya kay Rizal, because ganon, um, maano ka eh. At saka si Rizal talaga binibuild up siya sa pamilya niya. Um, but hindi maganda ang naging treatment kay Josephine ng kanyang mga kapatid at ng kanyang nanay. Cruel sila kay Josephine. And when
Wow.
Josephine died, when Rizal died, lalo na siyang walang nangyari.
Apo.
Josephine carried her face. He went to join the revolution, the Katipuneros, and then put up the hospital. Yung caring na yon, di ba? Put up the hospital for the wounded revolutionaries, and then naglalakad ng sa isang babae hindi naman sanay sa ganung lalakarin malayo. She was doing everything for the Filipino people, and then later on na nakapangasawa siya, si Vicente Abad, and actually hindi naman sila nagkaanak ni Vicente Abad, kumbaga sa inag-ampon lang sila. But she
That's
had to
very,
leave. But she
that's
had to
right.
leave the daughter na inampun nila because nagkasakit na siya. Yung sakit niya hindi gumagaling, and that's pneumonia, and that's TB, tuberculosis. So, alam mo nung panahon na yon, yung sakit na tuberculosis, kinatatakutan kasi nakakahawa. So, she was brought in the hospital, at tapos sinabi nga she died alone. She did not die alone, but she died alone in her deathbed. But Vicente Abad was in Hong Kong, but could not go near her because na yung sakit na yun, kumbaga sa COVID kayo, di ba? Pag namatay ka sa COVID, ikikremate ka na lang, hindi ka na makikita. So it happened to Josephine. Kaya, nilagay ko dito, Josephine continues to wander. So the wandering swallow that Josephine, sabi ko, she started at age 21 being the wandering swallow, the wandering swallow. Then she remarried a low-kid man from a family that was not prominent in events. Yung family na ito, yung si Vicente Abad, hindi naman kilala si Vicente Abad, pero ay kaya sa buhay, nagpakasal sila. But she had a very happy, the sisters of Vicente Abad were very fan of Josephine. So kung si Josephine was not a good woman, therefore the sisters of Vicente Abad na mga well-to-do naman would not be nice to her. They have very good words for Josephine Braken, as written by the grandson, no? And sabi, as per Josephine's recollection of her life with the Abad, she referred to those 3 years as happy and tranquil. So, hindi niya yan masabi sa pamilya ni Rizal na happy siya kasi nga
Apo.
hindi maganda yung treatment sa kanya ng pamilya ni Rizal. Where she shared their sisters-in-law housekeeping skills such as cooking, sewing, baking, cross-stitching, and other household work. So, magaling siyang talaga. So, but her life was an unhappy life, unhappy even in death. Yung sinabi ko sa aklat ko, sa libro ko, when she was gravely ill already, she left, and she felt she would not live long. She wanted to die in the land of her birth, sa Hong Kong. So, nagbalik siya ulit sa Hong Kong. Nagpadala siya kay Abad, malik tayo sa Hong Kong, so dinala siya ni Abad sa Hong Kong. And then she was confined at the Canossian Sisters St. Francis Hospital. Canossian Sisters St. Francis Hospital, where she met Father Espada. At itong si Father Espada na to wrote a very touching account of Josephine's last moment. He administered the last sacrament to Josephine, and he wrote, "The last time I saw Mrs. Rizal," she was referred to as Mrs. Rizal, "I was stricken with pity. She was broken down, yes, very much broken down, both in health and in spirit. I deem it my first day duty to comfort her and revive her spirit, but my efforts were futile. It was a losing fight. Poor woman. She had lost all hope, and with it, her faith in humanity. So,
Wow. That was
ganyan siya,
really
ano. Oo, very, very, ano yung,
his
ano, kung nag-research lang talaga, yung mga ganon, makikita mo, hindi masamang babae si
apo.
Josephine. Oh,
It
the wandering swallow sang her swan song in silence and in pain. Sabi ko na yan. She found happiness, but it was a brief one. In her deathbed, she was thinking of her beautiful Dolores. Ito yung kanyang daughter na hindi napalaki because nagkasakit siya. Of the Abad family who accepted and respected her, who took her as one of their own despite the controversies that surrounded her life. She closed her eyes after receiving the last sacrament on March 15, 1902. She died a Catholic in the bosom of the church she loved, but which rules she defied when she decided to live in with Rizal in the absence of its blessings. Their love triumphed. Indeed, the heart has reason, sabi ko na yan, which the
apo.
mind cannot understand. Vicente was with Josephine in the hospital, but he kept a safe distance from her. So hindi tama yung sinasabi nilang iniwanan siya ni Vicente. Mali yun. He feared that the disease was contagious. He followed the advice of the medical personnel to distance himself from his dying wife. How painful it was for one to die without any of the people you love beside your deathbed. But Vicente should not be faulted for this. He was advised to distance himself from his dying wife. It was a contagious disease he was afflicted with, but he was there. He never abandoned his wife. He provided for her material needs, but physically he could not be with her, and he too was hurting. He loved Josephine, but fate was cruel to them.
Yeah.
So, Josephine continues to wander. Sabi ko, Josephine continues to
Wandering swallow.
wander.
Mhm.
Yeah, Josephine also was hurriedly given a Catholic funeral. Like ngayon, sa COVID, i-cremate na lang, idilibing na lang. She was buried at the Catholic section of the Happy Valley Heights Cemetery in Hong Kong. Hindi ko alam kung nakita ito nung nagsulat ng Rizal Threat. Yung bibingan nito na Josephine, no? Yung lugar na ito. Upilada in his book referred to the burial. In all probability, the rites were only a quick blessing before immediate burial. So, ngayon kita natin nangyayari ngayon.
Apo.
Maria Dolores, the daughter Josephine, never had the chance to see grow into adulthood, tried to look for her mother's grave to no avail. Hindi na makita. She died in 1987 without succeeding and at least paying respect to the woman who adopted and loved her as her own daughter, although she did not bear her biologically. The wandering swallow is still wandering. Her tomb could not be detected. In death, the swallow continues to wander. Will her soul find rest? Perhaps when it is reunited with that of her beloved Rizal, and then the wandering swallow will wander no more. So that ends my uh,
Very nice po. I think it will be a pleasure if you could write a poem about
yeah,
about
I
the
will.
wandering
I will
swallow.
do that. I will do that
Uh,
about Josephine perhaps and about the
Opo,
life.
I want to thank you because really, like you said, Miss Josephine Braken has been given a bad reviews by almost everybody, and it's nice that we have this interview for you to be able to give the other side of what Josephine Braken went through and how still at how sorrowful life she lived, being unloved and by some family, and even up to now,
Yes,
her memory is being defamed by some sectors who do not know.